We knew you wouldn't want to say.
I'll read those.
Yeah, at the end. At the end, though.
Yeah,
Not-
yeah.
Yeah.
Folks, I'm sorry. I did not get the memo that it was 3:30, thought it was 4 o'clock. And we didn't have a quorum, so you couldn't start, could you? Nope. Okay. So did we all do a roll or anything? It's all ready to go?
That's right. You haven't done anything.
Tim Small.
Here.
Tom Baldwin.
Here.
John Alexander.
Here.
Hillary Barton. Lucas Sanders.
Okay. All right, first thing on the agenda is the, obviously, the tennis courts. That's why we're all here, right? We got a lot of emails. This was brought to our attention due to a city commission meeting where the USTA was going to be reinstated as the running the tennis facility, and that's why we're all here today. I know we have pros and cons, a lot on both. We got a lot of, like I said, got a lot of emails and letters from on both sides. So that's what we're here to do. We're not making a decision today. This is just to hear it out, rather than going through a commission meeting and going through it. You're going to have an opportunity to do that as well. But we want to vet some things now. So we have basically a mark to go with. You know, we'll set a mark and see where we are. And I'm sure that all the commissioners are going to be watching this, whether they're watching it live now. I'm sure they'll watch the reruns of it, and you have the opportunity to do that as well on the YouTube channel.
Now, Chair, we will be making recommendation to the commission, though, right?
Yes.
Yes, we will.
Okay.
And that will be, I don't know that we'll be able to come up with that recommendation immediately, like during this meeting.
No, I don't think so.
It's your call.
It's
to you.
possible, but I mean, we'll see it all plays out. I was debating on which way to go with this. I think we could do public comment, but it's gonna go a long time. We do have a presentation. Elaine Chuntrek. I believe you want to give us a little presentation, and that'd be fantastic. Start off.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for everyone that shows up. My name's Elaine Chuntruk, and I purposely formed Open Court Cocoa Beach to bid for this management contract. Open Court Cocoa Beach will be, or is self-certified as a service-disabled veteran-owned business, and we really hope that we can provide some insight to what opportunities are available to the community and that are locally grown. So I've been why consider us? I've been a local here. I've called Cocoa Beach home for over 30 years. I own my tennis skills here, and I think that having a local management team really gives the community an opportunity to take control of the courts and to provide a service that might not be there currently. I come from a tennis family. Tennis is very much a part of our Cocoa Beach DNA. My sister, she was a Division I recruited athlete. She played for the Air Force Academy. Myself, I'm also a Division I recruited athlete. I played for West Point. And then my younger brother, who I'll introduce later on in some slides, he's also got a full ride for tennis, and he is a teaching professional. He toured the US, South America, Europe, and Asia. And you know, having a tennis background is one thing, and that might never really equate to can you operate a facility. But I think that my military background and my background in operations give me the skill sets needed to manage a facility of this size. In the military, I was a SAPRA platoon leader. I deployed to Iraq. I've operated at a very high level, a very intense level of operations in general. I was also a brigade assistant brigade officer, which in S3 manages a pretty large number of people. So when I was a captain in the Army, we managed over 4,000 soldiers, personnel, and equipment, and we deployed them to Afghanistan and back. So I think with my operational background, I'm able to take the skills that I've learned in the Army to really produce a product that the community will want and need. And lastly, after the military, I had the opportunity to go to one of the best business schools in the world. I went to NYU Stern, where I got my MBA and focused on real estate development and finance. So I think that that makes me uniquely qualified as a local, as a person that enjoys the sport and is really a part of my DNA, that I can provide continued service to the community in a capacity that is not only profitable, but in a manner that services the whole community. So how do we get there? What is my plan? What is my approach? So when I was approached to kind of study the program that's currently in place and see what opportunities are there, the first thing I looked at was usage. And I think that increasing access to the community would really continue to cultivate the sport and increase value for everyone. So what do I mean by increased access? So if I were a high school student, I played for the Cocoa Beach tennis team, and I have a private coach and I want to use the facilities, I can't. I don't have access to those facilities because my coach isn't a member of USTA Florida. And when I was a junior playing tennis, I played at the Racket Club. I spent thousands of hours at Ramp Road, and it was a community. The tennis community back then was really strong, and I think that increasing access to the community, because again they're public courts, would really increase the overall value and value proposition. The other item I want to introduce is more coaching staff. I've identified 4 coaches that are world-class and 3 of which are local. If you look at the current operations, there is one teaching professional that's managing 12 courts. If you look at other facilities within Brevard County, like the Kiwi Club, you have 9 teaching professionals managing 14 courts, and we only have 1 teaching professional. So by increasing access to other teaching professionals, I think that we can really increase usage and add value to the community in the sport of tennis. The other thing that I'd like to introduce is high performance junior and adult programming. I think the current programming is fantastic. USTA Florida has done a phenomenal job with one subset of tennis, which I would consider the recreational side of tennis, beginner players, league play. But the current program, in my opinion, is a one-size-fits-all program, and it doesn't really cater to other members of the community that want to see a higher level of play. And we're actually losing members of the community to other clubs like the Kiwi Club. They have a really high caliber program for juniors and adults, and people in this community are seeking those services elsewhere when we have the local talent here in Cocoa Beach. Another item I want to talk about to increase overall community value, and this is a hot topic for some people, is introducing pickleball. I think that pickleball it's a natural progression for a lot of municipalities and a lot of communities to convert tennis courts into pickleball courts. And we have to look to see that the Racket Club of Cocoa Beach is a city asset, and there's members of the community that would love to see pickleball. And I think that our management plan and our team can really cultivate an environment where pickleball players and tennis players have enough space and capacity to enjoy their sport. And I also think that it's a much cheaper approach to paint and resurface existing tennis courts as opposed to finding a location off-site to develop a dedicated pickleball center. So this is my 4-prong approach to change the current programming there. And then I'd like to talk about how to implement this plan. So first and foremost, there is a core community that uses the courts. And I've identified in my research that there's 14 Space Coast Tennis League teams that play and practice there. And there's also USTA Florida teams that play and practice there. But going back to access, there's still only one teaching professional there to service all these members of the community. In fact, I've heard that some USTA teams that have formed weren't able to be provided teaching assistants at the facility because of a capacity issue. Again, John Sanders, I've heard he's done a fantastic job, but one coaching professional to service the whole community and control 12 courts, it's pretty difficult. And those members of the community that couldn't get those services there actually went elsewhere into the community to find it. However, that USTA team cannot practice with their coach at the racket club because of the current policies and restrictions in place. And that's why we're a big part of the reason why we're here today. So in order to, again, the current community is the core base of the revenue stream that comes in. And what we want to do is, what my charge to do is to ensure that the core community continues to receive the level of service and level of play that they currently enjoy. And with our open court policy, John Sanders, if I don't know his employment desires with USTA Florida, but he can continue to service the community under our policy. We're just creating access to more people in the community. So the other thing we want to do is we want to increase the hours of play. So we're introducing an extra hour in the morning. We understand that Florida's hot. I mean, if you try to play at 1 o'clock, today was 100 degrees. So we want to increase the hours of operations for the racket club and then the pro shop. And we're proposing to start at 7 a.m. and end at 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday. We don't propose to increase any of the fees. I looked at the fee structure. It looks very appropriate for the community. In fact, we want to do a study to see what a membership model would look like. You know, a one-time fixed fee for the year. So the more you use the court, the more value you get from it. And again, goes back to access. Providing the community with more options and access to coaching professionals that they desire for their team that fits their needs. So these are the 4 coaches that were identified, 2 of which are my family members. I'm really proud to represent them up here. My younger brother, Dane, he's actually the best out of all the siblings. He specializes in training high-performance juniors. He's actually couldn't be here today because he's down south in Delray Beach at the Clay Court Nationals, touring with a student of his. Dane is easily a 4.5 player left-handed, and he's right-handed player. He loves the sport, and he will bring a high energy of play that we haven't seen specifically at the racket club in the past years. The next coach I'd like to introduce is my father, Sock. He's been coaching in the community for over 30 years. He's coached myself, my brother, my sister, all to get college scholarships to play tennis or through tennis. He's coached multiple women's leagues, and he's coached high school teams to division championships. The next coach is Alvin. Alvin's been servicing the community for a long time. He'll bring a really high energy and just the type of person that you want around a club to bring players in. He's also a pickleball coach. So if pickleball was introduced, and again, pickleball is a city decision. You know, I think it's the city's decision to if they would like to introduce that, but we have it in our P&L, and we think it creates a lot of value for the community. Lastly, we have Caesar. Caesar is not local. He actually will be coming to us from Mexico. Caesar and my brother Dane have trained and traveled throughout Europe, training juniors and professional tennis players. And what he really brings to our community would be a high energy level of training, specifically geared towards the junior high performance program that we want to introduce. Okay. So Increased access, I talked about that. Increased access to coaching staff, and now what I want to talk about is increased programming. I think USTA Florida has done a fantastic job developing the recreational pathway for tennis. We have a lot of league players out here tonight, and we have a lot of players that are at that developmental level where they're intro to tennis, and they've done a great job doing that. And what we want to introduce is not only service that side of the community, but also introduce pathways for younger players to develop their skills for, if they're pursuing a college scholarship or beyond. I'm a product of Cocoa Beach Tennis. I'm happy to say that, when I was playing the juniors program, there was a top level of play being played at the time, and I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for the opportunities that I received here locally. And I just want to make sure that those opportunities are available for the youth of Cocoa Beach. So here's what a rendering of what pickleball courts might look like at Cocoa Beach. I think it's converting 2 courts into 6 dedicated pickleball courts is a very fiscally responsible way of introducing this sport to the community. It adds a lot of value. Again, it's a city's decision, it's a community decision. I'm here to advocate for it because I think it's a natural progression for players that enjoy the sport. It's a very social sport, and I understand that we do have pickleball courts in Cocoa Beach, but just like tennis, to build a community, you need more than 1 court, especially the number of players that play pickleball. And not only with pickleball, but introducing pickleball will also add to the greater racket club or country club community that we have. The facilities that we have here wouldn't be big enough to host, an after-hours event, but they could definitely walk over to the country club here and use the facilities. So I think there's a lot of value that you can create by bringing more people in, more traffic to the community, and the community would benefit from that. So with pickleball, I've looked at some case studies around the city. This is what Melbourne did at Jimmy Moore Tennis Complex, and we don't have to go all in with converting courts already. We can do a quick study and see what makes sense. So if you look at the bottom right-hand corner, those are painted lines on tennis courts. It's a pretty affordable way of doing it. It's just paying for painted lines and some netting. And it's a good way for us to study the demand and how to coordinate the scheduling, because I know that would be a big concern of our core group, is how do we make sure that they have access to the courts? How do we make sure that they can continue to train and play and compete in tennis? And how do we give access to other members of the community that enjoy pickleball? My personal opinion, I would rather have dedicated court painted lines. It's a bit distracting to have the other set. But it gives us options because other cities are doing it, and here's a great example. And I'm happy to reach out to the members of Melbourne City Council that made this happen and see what they learned from the process. So I talked about access, I talked about what programming I want to do, talked about pickleball, and since I have a finance background, I'd like to share with you how I understand the current operation and how I think we can improve. So again, I can't thank USTA Florida enough for coming in at a time when the city really needed them. They came in in an RFP response in 2017 when we didn't have any programming in place. We had a gentleman teaching at the time that didn't make a profit, but made a good program for the city. But it was a net loss for the city year over year. With USDA's stewardship, I feel that there's still value left on the table. There's still things that we can do, programmings that we can introduce, and teaching professionals that we can introduce to increase the P&L. USDA Florida came in and they signed a contract to pay $1,000 a month and a 10% profit share. But you can see in past years, they continue to receive rent concessions. So they're paying $800 a month to manage the courts. And I know that was a better deal than what the city had in the past, but I'd charge you to go find a studio apartment in Cocoa Beach for $800. but we're getting paid $800 for a city asset that has 12 tennis courts, and I just think that I think that that's indicative of having one coaching professional there, you know, and that access. With our proposal, I propose to actually pay the full rental amount, so $12,000 would be for the annual contract, $1,000 a month, and we would pay that upfront in an escrow account, so there's zero risk to the city. So again, paid upfront, the city can draw from those funds, and then we also intend on making a capital improvement of $28,000 outside of city funds. This is funds coming from the LLC that I'm forming, and I think the worst case scenario, as I said, is the city would at least receive $12,000 a month in rental income, as opposed to the rent concessions that they've given out in the past and only making $800 a month. I don't think this. I know Laura Bowen, she came here and talked in the past on May 5th, and she said they were happy to operate a $170,000 net operating loss since they own the management contract. And to me, as a business professional, it just doesn't make sense that someone could be happy to be operating at a net loss, because part of the city contract is that they would participate in a 10% profit share of what these courts make. And the only thing I can think of is maybe they offset those costs with membership fees, and I don't think that USTA Florida gives any of the membership fees that they charge for USTA members to the city. So maybe there's other incentives to offset that cost. But again, $800 a month for 12 courts, that's a bargain. I think after the first year of operation, you know, a conservative best case scenario is that the city could participate in $20,000 worth of revenue. And I'm happy that I'm given this opportunity to share this information with you, because I think this would really increase the value proposition that the city has. So to summarize, and I apologize for speaking so fast, you know, with local management, you'll have a community approach. USTA Florida manages thousands of courts throughout Florida. I don't think they can specifically create a program that's dedicated to us. That's why, from what we've seen in the past, it's a one-size-fits-all program. But with a local management team, I think we have a better pulse of what the community wants, and we're here to deliver. I'm your neighbor. I'm not from Orlando. I'm not driving here to to participate in the meeting. I'm going to be here every day, and I'm going to be here to service the community and give back. And give opportunities to Cocoa Beach's youth. Again, I think I'm uniquely qualified. I got a business degree at one of the top MBA programs in the country. I have a military background. I went to West Point, one of the best military schools in the world. I have access to the coaching staff. We have a lot of reach in the community in terms of the overall tennis community, and we really want to create a program that's not only caters to the recreational player, but also caters to the players that really want to develop their skills and shoot for scholarships and beyond. I think that expanding services to the pickleball community is great value for the overall community. Again, it's the racket club of Cocoa Beach, and it's not the tennis club of Cocoa Beach. And I think through programming and a dedicated staff that we can make sure that the local, the current community set of players don't have any interruption in play. You know, they still have access to the court times and things like that. And I think that there's enough capacity to introduce pickleball. And lastly, I can't reiterate this enough. You know, I know there's a core-based community there now, and they enjoy the uses of the court. And it's really my charge and my goal to ensure that they still have access to the teaching professionals that they want access to, and that they have an elevated level of play by seeing what other competition and other players can do in the sport. Thank you so much for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. I think that was very, very well presented. Gives us some good insight, good things to talk about. And gentlemen, do you have any?
Well, I have a question for Laird. So when the contract was renegotiated after the first period, we dropped the price from 1,000 bucks to 800, and that's the existing contract today. Secondly, is the space that they're recommending for the pickleball courts, is that available space within the contract of the city?
I mean, anything is possible.
Anything's possible.
Anything is possible.
Okay.
I mean, it's not something, I mean, something we'd have to talk about
Yeah,
before the contract is signed, but anything is possible.
okay, good,
How
good.
many parking spaces will that take up?
None.
Again, thank you for your time.
So
Again, very good presentation.
Thank you. I'm happy to share my underwriting in terms of the financial model that I put together for it. So if you guys have questions later on, please let me know.
okay, thank you. So Laird, there's been an analysis?
You have a second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
If you want to discuss more before I present, that's.
No, go ahead.
Okay,
Go
okay,
ahead.
great. I'm Laura Bowen. I'm the Executive Director for USTA Florida. Thank you for having me here today, and thank you to Lane for that presentation. That was great. I did want to respond to a few things in Lane's presentation that I think fundamental understanding of USTA Florida as a not-for-profit and how we operate is important. First of all, you do not have to be a USTA Florida member or a USTA member to play anywhere in this state, including at our facilities. And so I know we have a number of players here today. You're never required to have a membership unless you play in our leagues and tournaments. And that's going to be the case no matter who operates. Leagues and tournaments are a product that we own, and you do have to be a member to play in any of them. So that would be true no matter what. In terms of coaching, USTA Florida does not certify coaches. We do not approve coaches. We do employ them. So this is an employment matter. John is employed by us, and any other coach is welcome to apply for employment with us. A lot of coaches prefer to be contractors, independent contractors. They run their own businesses, completely fair to them. There are some reasons we do employ our coaches, but I want to say that has no connection to USTA Florida membership. In terms of high performance coaching, we see this a lot, and this focus on using courts for high performance coaching comes up in a lot of municipalities. We operate 4 locations in the state, definitely not 1,000 courts. I would not be standing here if we had 1,000 courts. We operate 4, and I could tell you that the discussion in many municipalities is about recreational programming and preserving that. A lot of times when you trend high performance, USTA Florida is known as a high performance state. Florida is one of the top states for high performing juniors. Mr. Lane is a perfect example of that. We have 1,000 competitive junior tournaments that we sanction in a year, not 1,000 courts. And so it is very important to us. It's an important part of our ecosystem, but the recreational piece often is what feeds that and what is lost. So to hear him say that we've focused heavily on that means we're doing our due diligence and we're serving our mission. And thank you very much for acknowledging that. That's actually why we're here. And then in terms of dedicated pickleball courts, I had a chance to talk to the ambassador earlier today. Thank you for that chat. Every location we manage, this discussion has come up. We have 4. We have Fort Walton Beach, Gainesville, Vero Beach, and this location. In every single location, we've had the discussion about pickleball courts, and in fact, 2 of the 4 had pickleball courts and or lines, and both municipalities, within a year, decided to build a dedicated separate facility. The reason is that both sports are growing tremendously, and they would start competing with each other for the court time, exactly what he pointed out. It created a lot of headaches and frustration for the municipalities. It caused a lot of fighting. Police were called at times. It's really a headache you don't want. So what we say is we're very much supporting dedicated pickleball sites. What Daytona did in Pictona is a perfect example. We have several of our team members here who manage both, and they can tell you that if you're gonna do it, having separate dedicated facilities is gonna save you a lot of heartburn, and you're probably gonna end up there in the long run. So again, we don't really support taking out tennis courts or lining them because ultimately the players really don't get along. They fight over the court time, and there's no great way to navigate it. And then in terms of the payment to the city, I'm going to go through some of that in the financials today. How we pay the city or when we pay the city is really not a concern to us. If the city wanted an upfront payment, certainly we would do that. We're very well capitalized. We have a $7 million budget, so money is not really an issue. And the reason we take a loss is we're a 501c4 not-for-profit. We are not here to make money. We're not a for-profit company. We are a not-for-profit, and part of our mission is to actually give back and grow the sport. And so that's where we spend our money. Participation is the result of that. So I'm gonna walk through just some basic slides, and I'm here with 3 of my team members who've been in this business for decades. So for better or for worse, I'm the business side of this equation. They're the tennis and the business side of the equation. I've been here for 12 years. I was here from the beginning of this contract. I was the director of marketing when we opened this location. So I spent a lot of time and energy on it. I've been with USTA Florida for 12 years, and prior to that, I worked with the leadership of the National Association of Realtors, so I have a fundamental understanding of real estate development also. Who is USTA Florida? We are a not-for-profit volunteer-run association that was established in 1949. We've been around for 75 years. We have roughly 30,000 plus members all over the state, and again, they mostly play in our leagues and our tournaments. Our staff numbers 50 plus, and again, they work all over the state. They live in the communities they work in. I may be from Orlando, John lives here, and we have other staff who live and breathe this community every day. We're very proud of that. Likewise, we have over 500 volunteers. 2 of our wonderful volunteers are here today with us, and they also live in the communities that we serve. We run more than 1,000 competitive tournaments a year. I dare say that's probably the largest number in any state in the country. And that's both adult and junior. We are known as a haven for competitive junior tennis, and there are a number of academies all over the state. Our league players number more than 20,000. USTA runs the largest recreational adult sports league in the nation. We have 4 managed facilities. We just took on our 4th, which is Riverside Park down in Vero Beach, and our annual budget is more than $7 million. We're very well capitalized, and that's why we can invest in this tennis center and not worry about returning a profit. The individuals here today are Chuck Gill. He is our USTA Florida Board President-elect. He's also the chair of our Tennis Management Advisory Team, and he is the Director of Tennis at the Village of Wellington. Marcelo Goetz is also a member of our Board of Directors. He is a member of our Tennis Management Advisory Team, and he is the head of MG Tennis, and he is the operator of Lake Kane Tennis Center in Orlando. And I think most of you know John Sanders. John is the USPTA Elite Tennis Professional. He is the head tennis professional here. I had the pleasure of working and knowing John for a decade now. I knew him when he was teaching over in San Lando Park, and I could tell you he is one of the best in the business, and we're very fortunate to have him. Why are we here today? One, we want to emphasize our continued support to growing tennis and serving the Cocoa Beach community. You don't have to take my word for that. I don't live in this community, but certainly take John's. He's been here. He's our longest tenured tennis pro. This was the first location we took on. He's been here through it all, and he has consistently served this community. He met his wife here, and he's raised his family here. He is a member of your community, and he is the person that runs this facility for us. We also want to provide accurate information on the support we provide and what others don't provide. And I think that's important rather than have conjecture, rather have people make assumptions about what we do. We're very open about what we do and what we don't do, and we're happy to provide that information. And we also want to answer questions from the Leisure Board to make sure you have the information you need to make the best decision for your constituents. You can't read this on the screen. My apologies, it's very small. But you did receive, I think, a hard copy of this. This is actually a timeline of our relationship with Cocoa Beach. We did meet with the city back in September of 2017. We presented a bid proposal and we were awarded the bid. We began operations in December of 2017. One thing that you can't read on here that I would say is very important to note is that during the COVID pandemic, our contract was up for renewal. It was a 3-year term. There was nobody standing up here asking for that contract in 2020. There was no one coming to you saying they wanted to manage it. Without any exception, we agreed to renew our contract, and we took every loss and we adhered to every regulation and standard that the city set during COVID, and we continue to operate without exception. And we've done that every year since. We know there's a shortage of tennis courts in the state of Florida and in the nation, and a lot of pros are looking to teach on tennis courts. We understand that. We've committed to this city from the very, very beginning, and we've fulfilled our commitment. And every penny that we've made in revenue has gone right back into those courts. So we are your partner. What we care about is providing full support to you. We do manage this facility. We provide full marketing, human resources, accounting, maintenance, customer service, and liability insurance. We absolve you of all liability for what happens on those courts. We take that on. We are transparent. When we came to this location, it was a cash-only operation. We implemented a digital point-of-sale system. We track every single transaction, and we report those to you regularly. The reason you have a P&L is because we give it to you regularly, and we're very open about it. We also are audited every year by a third-party independent auditor. We deliver all of those reports regularly to you each quarter. We serve this community. Our pros are hired and they are paid to deliver what the community wants. If there's something we're not providing, we want to know about it, and we want to meet that need. We aren't here to just run an academy or put money in our own pockets. We are here to grow tennis. That's our mission. And our local staff is here to coordinate programs and play. We do offer programs for everyone, regardless of ability, and that matters to us because the majority of the community is never going to be a D1 tennis player. Do we want to serve them? We absolutely do, but we want to serve everyone. And finally, we uphold the highest standards. Our staff and our program are held to the highest standards in the industry, both on and off the court. They're required to go through safe sport and background check training every year. We also provide high levels of customer service, and we take care of our facility and we maintain it. I'm going to ask my team to come up and talk a little bit more about the tennis part of that. Like I said, that's not necessarily my background and not what I have, but I do want to say that I feel like we have the best team in the business, and if you do decide to go in another direction, I would encourage this municipality, like I encourage everyone that we meet with, not to manage but to advise, that you make sure that every person that's teaching on your courts has liability insurance, is background checked and can pass a background check, and that they also are certified by an accredited body, and that they receive training every year, and that training should include how to provide service to adaptive, wheelchair, and marginalized communities. We do that, we mandate that for our staff. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chuck, Marcelo, and John for you guys to walk through our programs and our operation.
What a team we have here. John, do you want to start off? Or would you, are you comfortable with these? Okay, well, all right, I promise I won't talk for too long. Why am I here? I have a full-time job. I'm the director of tennis for the Village of Wellington down in the southern part of the state. I'm a volunteer. I'm a member of the advisory team. Why did we even start with having a USTA advisory team? Most people have the myth that the USTA has run the US Open. They're this big cash cow. We are, Marcelo and I at least, are volunteers. We both have day jobs. We work as tennis directors for municipalities. We started this tennis management program with the simple goal of growing tennis. We're not here to make a profit. The section's not here to make a profit. We're here to take any community that would like assistance in growing tennis, and we want to be a part of it. Obviously, that gives us some advantages, but it also creates sometimes a little bit of a wacky business model for us, because sometimes we'll have a conversation about raising rates and whether or not it's right to invest money. And we have a little different model. When I come to this tennis center today, which by the way was the first time I've been here, when I came here today and I saw 16 kids running around in the hot sun in a junior program, that's my metric for success. So we really want courts full. I do understand, I've been doing this for 40 years. I understand the difference in a contractor model versus an employee model. And it's difficult, and there's not a municipality in the state that doesn't wrestle with that issue. The advantages of having a contractor is you can kind of wash your hands of it and let everybody do whatever they want. Generally, it's not very transparent. You don't know exactly what's going on, but at least you don't have any risk involved in it. Employee models tend to be a little bit better, in my opinion, after doing this for decades, simply because then you have control over it. And you know exactly what's being taken in, and you know exactly what's going on in your operation. Also, you can control your employees that you really don't have the opportunity to do as a contractor. I totally get the point about wanting a high-performance component. That makes a lot of sense, because you do want that high performance. But in the ecosystem of tennis players, it's built at the base, and you need a good base of recreational players. You need entry-level programs for kids, and then hopefully that top of the pyramid will form organically. But if you don't have a great recreational program, is where it's at. Entry-level leagues are where it's at. You really get your traffic out of your women's and your men's 3.0 up to 4.5 level. That's where tennis has grown. Another reason that we are big on public tennis centers is public tennis centers really fit into our mission. Our job is to be inclusive, to reach out to certain underserved communities and make sure that we can grow tennis. And that's pretty much why we're here. That's why Marcelo and I have spent hours upon hours and sometimes days in a year serving on this advisory team, trying to help John, trying to help Laura, and give them a little bit of the ins and outs on how the sausage gets made when it comes to running a tennis operation. I was in the private club business for about 30 years, and then the last 3 years I've been at a public tennis center in my community in Wellington, Florida. Thought it would be kind of ironic if I didn't work at the public tennis center, since I grew up playing on one. So that's what I do. Before I turn it over to them, Elaine, thank you for your service, first of all. Much appreciated, and thank you for the kind words that you offered about what John has done so far. So this seems to be just the fact that you're all here, thank you all for being here. I don't know where you stand on this, but just the fact that you're here shows that you're passionate about tennis, and I'm pretty cool with that.
Well, thank you, Chuck, and thank you everybody for being here. It was basically Chuck to my words. I want to thank everybody for being here on a Monday afternoon and be supportive of the sport that we all come to love. I had the privilege to be in municipal tennis for over 35 years, and a bigger privilege to be serving as a volunteer for USTA Florida for about that time. And I think that there's different ways to look at how to manage a facility, from the contractor to the employee. But one of the things that comes clear to me when it comes down to why we here is because this became at one point a rescue mission more than a growing the game mission. When we first were approached with the idea of opening up tennis management, it's because there were facilities that they were dying. And it's hard to see how that happens, but ultimately when you go out there and you start seeing what are the ingredients that ultimately create success and failure, at one point you start realize that there are certain ingredients that you have to have in place. And to me, recreational tennis comes on the top of it, inclusion tennis, and league tennis. Junior team tennis, adult leagues have been the driver of our facility in Orlando, where if it wasn't for leagues and it wasn't for USTA weekend tournaments, the place would be very quiet, and we probably haven't justified growing into courts and facilities. So in the organic growth of the sport comes where we need to kind of really focus on league development, safe management of our facility, and that's probably the key ingredient that I take when it comes down to seeing how USTA Florida operates this facility. And I would say that it's a very safe approach from the municipality. Every item is so transparent, every point is so covered that I'm looking up, even as a director for 35 years, I look at the business practices that we do, and I have the privilege to kind of even learn at this time what the best business practice continue to be. So I think the presentation was outstanding. Thank you, and thank you again for what you bring for this community. And I'm a little bit of a hybrid process because I'm a contractor for Orange County, and I'll see high performance as a very important part of our programming. But at the same time, there's so much that needs to be done. It's that top of the pyramid, and I would like to continue making sure that the lower part of the pyramid is always healthy and always growing as well. So it takes a town to grow the game, and it takes, I think, USTA Florida to kind of keep it safe and healthy. So thank you again for the opportunity.
All right, well, I am John. For those, I think I almost know everybody that's here. I've been here, I'm the head pro. I've been running this facility from the get-go. When we started the operation, way back when I decided to pick up everything I had and move over here for a shot, it was quite the experience, learning everybody's personalities, all the different people that were here. It's a great community. I really enjoy being here, and I've invested probably 110% of myself into this facility. And obviously, I think the repercussions have shown with the growth of the facility from day one. Only mentions we have 12 league teams out of the Racket Club. When we started, we had 2. Plus the amount of senior leagues, so those are probably not even included in that. So it is a fight for court space. We don't have a lot of dead time except from 1 to 3, which is obviously the hottest part of the day. So, but then again, we don't charge you if you want to play, at that time. 1 to 3 is always free. And we don't always, we never charge the high school players to play and practice. We do not allow outside coaching, of course. We want everybody to be vetted and gone through safe sport and background checked, and making sure that everybody is coming through the process correctly. And also that they're going to provide the standards that we're looking for, not only on the court, but off the court as well. One of the big things that I've found with the organization of USTA Florida is not necessarily how great you train your kids, it's how big of an impact you make in their lives. So I don't know how much, I don't keep track of my D1 commits or anything like that, but I do keep track of all the kids that I've improved their life situations. I've had lots of families that it's been monumental to be a part of their lives, and I invest in all those kids. Whether we get along or not, or whether I am their coach or not, I obviously have a good experience with all levels and want everybody to succeed at the end of the day, even if you don't take from me. We offer all kinds of programming for all kinds of levels. We do have a one-size-fits-all because there is something for everybody at the Racquet Club. And no matter what age you're at, my little red ballers, that it's kind of like herding cats at 5 and under. So I have those guys. We have orange ballers that are 8 to 10. We have our green ballers that are probably in your middle school area, getting ready to go to high school, all the way up to your tournament level players. I enjoy teaching every single one of them and have made an impact. A lot of them, since I've started in the last 5 years, have grown through the program and haven't left the facility for any reason. We also started probably about 3 years ago with Love Serving Autism, which is a program that we do free of charge with partnership with the Parker Foundation in Melbourne. So then that way we were able to give back to the community. That way they're able to come and participate, families, kids, all for fun. We also do wheelchair tennis when we were able to find some that, COVID kind of hurt us a little bit on that one. So we also have the elementary school partnership with Roosevelt. We also have, I usually go in there annually to the schools, put on a situation, take over a PE class for over a full day, teaching about 6 hours, teaching the kids how to play tennis. And then we have a big party at the end of that week where they all come here and play for fun at the Racquet Club. It's a great experience. We also help establish the after-school program at Roosevelt Elementary with doing tennis after school for all those families. We provided free equipment for that program to get off the ground as well. We have all kinds of leagues that happen, drop-in leagues, whether they're men's, women's, mixed doubles, quads, everything. We do have tournaments as well. They are a little bit few and far between, but it's based off of success of running them. The social play, we have bi-monthly adult mixers that we run on Friday nights with an average attendance of 35 to 40 players on a Friday night. We always do our community events as well. So everybody's favorite part is the prices. So we do strive to do a low-cost, high-value model so that then that way we're able to keep the court fees low and everybody's able to have access. One thing that maybe is not mentioned on here is we also provide scholarship opportunities to families that are not able to possibly pay for a certain cost. We do scholarship those kids. We've had a couple in the past that have taken that opportunity to be able to play at the Racquet Club. So our court fees, we stayed low all the way through COVID. I think just this year was the first time when we actually went up in prices, and we went up a whole $1. So it was pretty heavy lift going up $1. And we were able to continue the same amount of service throughout the year. All the summer camps that we run that's currently going on right now, we offer the 9 to 5 summer camp. So we are able to have those kids all day for those parents at work. We also have a 9 to 1 option. We also get to use the pool. We also host an hour with the city's summer camp so that they can come and enjoy an hour's worth of tennis every Monday afternoon during the summer. All right, I'll hand it back over to Laura.
We're terrible at math.
No, they're very good at math. So Lane mentioned the net operating loss. So this is the total numbers. I actually included the annual revenue expenses in the timeline that was on that image. So if you want to look year by year, there's a few things that affect our operations. So from a business perspective, things to consider. is number one, like I said, we absorb any losses if courts are unplayable. So for example, this past fall, in the fall, we had a hurricane, flooded the courts. We also had some courts unplayable due to construction. We don't ask the city to cover that. We cover that net operating loss. We continue to provide service regardless. And also during COVID, we retained John. We felt that was important, and we, again, weren't using full optimization of the courts. But ultimately, we provide whatever the community needs to play tennis, and as long as the loss is reasonable, that's where we sit. We also have a sister organization called the USTA Florida Section Foundation. Lane mentioned the conversion of the pickleball courts and that being cheaper. We've provided a commitment letter to the city of $200,000 in grants to actually redo all 6 of those front courts to help with the cracking and the repairs that is largely due to flooding and the lack of drainage there. So we've been working with Wayne and Laird on that. That sister organization is separate but related to us. So when you combine both of those investments, this is the amount of money that we've dedicated, and we are happy to do it because this is our mission and there's no better way to spend those funds. If the city is interested more in the operating profit and the 10%, you know, again, that's something that, as Laird said, anything is possible to sit down and say, what are your goals? What is your purpose? We look at this as a taxpayer facility. The taxpayers pay to maintain it. That money goes into the facility. And so our goal is always to keep the costs as low as possible. And if that means that we, every 6 years, are investing $200,000 into it, that seems like a reasonable ask to us. So we always welcome questions and feedback. You know, no matter what is decided here with the city council, USTA Florida is always going to support tennis in this community. We're not going to go away. We believe that. We'll continue to work with any operator here. We would love to partner with Lane and have future discussions on maybe how we can work better together so that maybe there's some strengths and some opportunities that you bring that we can sit down and talk about. If, you know, whether you take over management or whether we stay here, hopefully you all have an opportunity to get all your questions answered and you can make a recommendation that's best for the city. So thank you for all the time that you took with us today.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Laura. That was a very good presentation as well. Got some good insight. I have a couple questions, but I'll hold for you guys. Do you have something?
I'll defer.
Tom, do you have anything?
You know, I'm just putting it down right now.
Okay. So I've been on the Leisure Board for quite a while, and was on the board when USTA came aboard. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Richard was the previous coach, I believe, and the city he was an employee of the city. So we were paying him, he was collecting court fees, and we also had to take care of all the courts, resurfacing the courts. So every couple of years, it was, back then it was about $130,000, I think, to resurface the courts, something like that. But it's much more expensive now. That's the biggest cost out there. I saw your budget, your revenue of 700. You had expenses of almost $900,000. What would those expenses be? $900,000 in expenses.
Yeah, that's a great question. So that's over a 6-year period.
Over 6 years.
Yes, and we
Okay.
do put material down on the clay court, so that also.
That
so-
makes sense.
Yeah, that's
6
over
years
a
makes sense. 1 year, yeah, 900,000 a year.
I wouldn't have a
would be-
job if that was
Holy
1
cow.
year.
That's a lot of tennis balls.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes, but those are the
Okay.
types of things. We do put material on the court, we buy supplies, we buy tennis balls, you know, so there are supplies and, you know, general things that we do. And again, we provided a revenue and expense consolidated to you all along with our presentation that has line items on there. And if anyone has any questions on what's included in those line items, we're happy to answer those questions anytime.
Yeah, we'll need to see, I don't have the specific,
You should have it. We sent it this morning with everything else. You should have gotten it email.
got it this afternoon.
When was this morning? When did we send that? This morning, Andy? Yeah. along
Okay.
with the presentation. Maybe you didn't see it.
Yes, that's why I didn't get here at
Yeah.
3:30. All right. To me, it seems like the biggest problem is the number of coaches and allowing coaches, and there should be some sort of coming together. I mean, everyone in here loves tennis. I played tennis in high school. I played a little bit in college. I get it. It's an awesome sport. And that, I think, there seems to be some love here. I mean, you guys, each of you, everybody gets along. You've known each other a long time. You've played tennis over the last several decades. That's kind of where we are. One of the biggest issues that you're going to have to overcome with the commission is money, and that's seemed to be a push. From my perspective, though, this whole facility is more of an amenity to the entire community. It's not about this golf course making a lot of money or the tennis courts making money. The pool certainly doesn't make any money. They're amenities. What that means is that raises the value of the property in our entire community. Because we have a golf course, because we have 12 tennis courts, 2 of them are clay, we have an Olympic-sized pool. Is that 10% of our ad valorem tax that's added to it? So, it really overcomes that. Do I want to see it's in a deficit on any of these facilities? No. As a matter of fact, if any of them can make, become a little bit above their losses, make a little bit more than they're losing, then they can put that money back into the programs, put it back into the golf course, and the pool, and the tennis courts. That'd be fantastic to do that if we can to get it to that point where they're self-sustaining, where you can, pull out $200,000 every 4 years to resurface the courts, or every 6 years, whatever, 4 to 6 years, whatever it turns out to be. That's my look at it, and I think that's where there needs to be some sort of rationale. Like, how many coaches do you have? It was mentioned that you only have one coach.
So there's actually headcount for 2 coaches there. We've had trouble recruiting, and again, for the reasons, there's 2 things that it's important from a business perspective that people understand. One is if you hire an employee to do X job and then you hire an independent contractor to do the same job, that creates a legal issue for you in terms of workers' compensation, right? So you really have 2 different models. You either employ them, which is what the city did with Mr. Cody, or you hire all contractors, and then again, you lose the ability to sort of dictate what they do, and they kind of they're running their own mini businesses. We choose the employment model, and we choose that for a reason. We have been trying to recruit secondary coaches. We actually had a full-time coach who's a teacher here in Brevard who agreed to be hired by us right when the pandemic happened, and ended up not starting with us. He ended up going back and being a teacher, and we've had trouble recruiting since. It's definitely an issue there. And then I think in terms of the revenue and expense, I will be honest with you, this is the first time I've ever had a city not be very particular about the prices that were charged. So just thinking, again, business perspective from the cost of that you're charging a consumer, what they're willing to pay. So if the fees for a park and rec are typically in that, we have some that pay $2 per court, some $5 per court. In the 4 that we manage, it's exceedingly low when you talk about the human cost. And it's not just the coach. We have desk attendants who have to cover the desk when people come in. So I think it's a more complicated situation. The model that Lane has proposed, which is also somewhat common, is that you're going to have a contractor that's on that court, and they're going to charge X for their lesson, and they simply pay a court fee, or they take 80% of that. That's true. I just said that's an example. That's an example. He can certainly, suggest his plan. But I think that ultimately, we're open to saying, hey, if the city would like to see something done differently in terms of the cost, the fees that are charged for the courts, or the fees that are charged for the programs, we're open to that. And we've also been recruiting, and we haven't had anyone apply for the jobs, and we would welcome that. That's kind of the pro versus the expense side.
Thank you, Laura.
Well, we've had 3 meetings where we've had some contact with this situation. And it appears to be, as it does to you, Tim, that the problem seems to be the fact that you cannot get the individual coaches on the courts to help these students. In the contract, there is a clause for, it could bring in a contractor, an outside contractor, with approval, and that would be one of the things that we could certainly look at. I don't think anybody's questioning the operation of the facility. I think what people are questioning is how can we get the most for the dollar and get the most out of the facility with outside coaches and things like that. So unless I'm mistaken, that seems to be the crux of this whole conversation. And that because there are certain elements of your contract that at this point, we are not bringing in outside contractors. But as Laird said, everything's possible, right, Laird?
Yep.
So therefore, I think we need to keep an open mind when it comes to that.
John, there's another thing that bothered me. I read all of the letters that came in, and I sort of tried to jot some of the things down, but I think the public image, because of some things that have happened in time past, the coaches are one thing, another was time for school tennis players to use it. We've got to build it, even though it's not in the contract this way, we have to build our public image as far as the city, the council, ourselves, and you folks, get this back, the feeling that we are trying to use you and we are trying to meet your demands, as well as a couple of things popped up. One was scholarships. I don't know, I've never heard of that before being what happened here, but there's a classic example of how to build on something to get us out of the hole and not looking good. Plus it'll help a lot of young people get to have a good time playing tennis. So along with that is, I think we have to take a look at the contracts, and there's going to be a little give and take this time, so that we all come out on the good side, both the city, the people that use the courts, as well as the people that are running the courts and teaching. And so it'd be my goal to help would be try to bring the two sides, if we should, the teachers, the quote with the city and the public, with something that we can advertise almost, and being, we've got it solved, we're going to work on it, here's how we're going to do it.
Yeah, Tom, I think, I don't know if I heard you wrong, but they let the high school kids play
Right,
anytime. It's just not with their personal coach.
right.
Because they're not associated with if they were associated with the USTA, I believe then that's the case. And
Tim, somehow that has I've had a couple phone calls, and it was all about high school kids and not being able to use the courts, but they forgot to say with the coach.
Right.
And that's where we have to do some work.
Well, that just needs to be vetted out and explained, I guess. That's pretty simple. Yeah. We I believe we are. We don't have a lot of time, unfortunately.
10 minutes.
And but we can. John, do you have something else you wanted to say?
Yeah, I just want to clear up the high school.
Come on up.
Could you come up? Please come up.
Just want to clear up the high school thing. No high school kid has been kicked off the courts at the racket club. The only situation that they have not been able to practice was with a personal coach. However, with the high school coaches themselves of Cocoa Beach High School, they've been allotted free usage of the courts we provide during the high school season. Even that, they have a block of at least 4 hours every day to practice, whether the coach is there or not. They have that block free of charge. Throughout the year, I know all the high school kids as well, so I don't charge them to play as well. So I don't know where that narrative came from, but they're playing at the facility, and if we need to show names, we can.
That's great.
I know both the school coaches, Craig Bell and Vern Wells, fantastic
Very good.
gentlemen, great good tennis players, and good coaches as well. They're fantastic. Matter of fact, Vern was coach of the year last year at
Yeah.
Space Coast, so, in golf, so it was
Both
fantastic.
coaches do a great job,
They do.
and also the assistant coach, Susie Contos, does a good job too. So,
Elaine, did you have something else you wanted to mention? Yeah, that'd be great, if we could have your perspective as well.
So just want to respond to the contractor piece. The city would be contracting with me, and I would be contracting with teaching professionals. So it would be a one-to-one contract. We would do the same vetting process that USDA Florida already does. Actually, all our coaching staff are USPTA certified. And background checks, no different than what the city of Cape Canaveral does. So to play at this, to be a contracted coach at the city of Cape Canaveral, you have to do a background check and you have to have insurance. We would have the same processes in place. It's just adding the ability for people in the community to come and opening those doors and giving them access. But we're still going to do the same background checks and process in vetting these professionals. So just want to clear that.
Nobody that's ever had anything in their background would be allowed around our children?
Correct, yeah. So if you don't pass a background check, you're not allowed to just promote and say, hey, I'm a tennis coach and I want to teach kids and all those things.
Right.
It's still a liability. Sorry?
Drug tests?
Whatever the city requires in their scope
Yeah,
of work. I
whatever
think
that-
that's in
whatever
their
the-
scope of work. So, but the city's scope of work, I analyzed and looked at it, and we fulfilled the same requirements. Yes, ma'am.
Would your liability insurance be equivalent to what USDA carries?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, it's
We would require, if, let's say a person in the community wanted to teach there, they would require the city and myself, Open Court, Cocoa Beach LLC, to be a member on their policy. And they would have the same requirements in terms of insurance coverage and things like that.
Yep.
So, but it would be, again, a single entity contracting with the city, and it would be my responsibility and my risk to take on members of the public. So,
Can a USDA match be taken in that place?
Sorry?
Is a USDA match, tennis match can take place in your?
of course, yeah, I think.
USDA approve that?
Under our stewardship, I mean, we're still going to have a relationship with USDA Florida. I mean, they're the biggest organization there.
Elaine, I think the biggest question that's just sitting out there is that they need coaches. You have coaches. Why can't you all just get together? Why can't you be part of the USTA, part of that program, and why can't that all happen? I just don't get it.
So that's a great discussion to have. I'd love to have that discussion. However, a contractor model, the majority of coaches in the country do a contractor model. It's the exception that to have an employed coach. And the reason why it's better to have, in my opinion, a contractor model is because, if you're an employee and you don't make more money for the more hours that you spend on court, you're not incentivized the right way. And I think that incentivizing a coach really attracts the highest level of coaching staff that you can require in any industry. So if you want to attract the best, you have to make sure that they're paid the best for their time. So and that's why I think a contractor model is much better than an employee-based model. I totally understand their point. They want to control the finances coming in and out. I have a finance background. I'll be 100% transparent with the inflow of cash and coming out because it only benefits the community, and that's what I'm here to do. I'm trying to serve the community.
Yeah, I guess another question is like your personal coaches. So you're going to get paid a premium fee because you're given
Correct. So
one-on-one.
actually-
Bear with me a second to try to get this point.
Yes, sir.
It just seems like that that one of the USTA should be able to say, hey, you're certified at this level, or there's some sort of level of liability insurance you have as a professional teaching tennis instructor, that you would be able to rent those courts for a certain period of time and have the kids, and they can all be in the same leagues and it can work out. I don't know why that can't work that way.
I can't
just don't-
speak to what their policies are in terms of allowing outside contracted coaching, but I know that the employee model Just, it's not the.
It just doesn't gel together very well. Is that what's, it seems, right?
Well, I'd say like a top teaching professional makes probably $100,000 and $150,000 a year, and I don't think that's what the salary would be that they're offering. So,
Wait, I'm not saying that. I'm saying, what if you played tennis against the person you're teaching? I mean, can you go rent a court? Can you, as a professional, go to the USTA court and rent a court and play against another teaching professional?
yes, as long as there's not an exchange of funds, I'm not teaching the other person. Like me and my brother can go play against each other, and there's no restriction on that. It's just a restriction of coaching. And that's where, when we looked at the operation, there's one teaching professional for 12 courts. And when we look at other facilities where members of the community are going, there's 9. Example, Kiwi Club has 9 teaching professionals over 14 courts.
They have a
They're
huge
also-
facility. They have a huge facility, though.
They have,
I mean, it's
Correct, but
just,
then-
they've got a lot more than just tennis courts and everything else.
they have a restaurant,
Yeah.
but but they have 14 courts. We have 12 courts.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. There's only 2 more courts. You're
And you
right
can
there.
look at other facilities too. You can look at Suntree, perfect example where they have more coaching staff than just one coaching staff. So again, it's about access. So.
The Suntree and Kiwi are expensive.
100%. We're a public facility. We should be able to offer,
Yeah.
make that offering to the public. So
Yeah, they are privately. It's a little more expensive to play there, I'm guessing. So you said how much is it an hour? Is it $2? Is $2 and went up to $3 an hour? What?
It's $5.
It's $5.
$5 for a resident, $6 for a non-resident.
And again, I'm not changing any of the policies. We're actually charging the coaches a higher rate to use the facilities. It doesn't pass through to the it's whatever agreement that a coach and a player makes, that fee.
Mm-hmm.
I'm facilitating court time so that they can build a schedule and build a program, and that's how the operation or the management company participates in revenue. We're charging a higher percentage rate to the coach so they have dedicated court time to run the program. So,
But ultimately, the program has to sustain those high coaches, so there's got to be a fee that the program has to charge to sustain the high level of coaching.
we're charging the coach. So coaches are bringing in their business. They're servicing the community, and then we're also adding programming like up and down doubles. The same thing that many programs throughout the country offer. So we're providing access to the community for options. The core community we plan on servicing.
Okay.
And again, with discussion with USTA Florida, if they want to, take the recreational piece and let us have the management piece, I'm all for it. It's about access, about giving the members of the community what they're looking for and creating value.
Right. Thank you.
And there's no discount for USDA coaching with John. I mean, fees are pretty level across. Would be the same whether we're getting coached by John or anyone in this group or Kiwi or Suntree. There isn't a huge discount.
Okay. Yeah, so you're saying your coaching fees and John's coaching fees are relative.
Yeah,
The membership has nothing to do with us.
Right. Okay.
Can I just ask a quick question?
Yes.
I'm an unpopular pickleball player.
Don't get that wrong. Don't get.
Chaos and fighting over courts. None of us do. It's just not,
Yeah.
players are very different.
Yeah.
What is the utilization of the 12 courts when you don't have summer camps running? Is there time or is there not?
Nighttime.
What is the utilization? I just want the numbers.
I played Sunday morning, there was not a soul on the Cocoa Beach courts. I played from 8 to 10:30.
So is there a way that we can turn some into pickleball courts without causing mass chaos and upset tennis players? That's my
Well,
own, and maybe it grows, and then we have to move to our own outside court, but
Yeah.
is there room for
I think
it?
as a resident of Cocoa Beach, I don't have to go to Cape Canaveral to play pickleball.
we should allow everybody to play together.
Yeah.
And I have the same right, I'm a tennis player as well as a pickleball player. I have the right to do both if I want to.
Yeah.
Because we both play the same time. So therefore, I think that the city, number one, I think, I don't know if this is my time to talk, but I'll be very short. I think that I hear both sides. I don't have a dog in the fight. I don't care who it is. But I tell you one thing, that number one, we need more coaches. Because as a John, I wish I could have a 3D printer so I can print for him. Okay? He's phenomenal, he works around. But it's the main time that he can't support me because I work. I'm a resident, I think that I would say that 75% of the people in Cocoa Beach, they still own an 8 to 5 job, so they work. And most of them, like me, they need that time. We don't have the flexibility to come to John and say, hey, can you stay a little bit over tonight to play with me? I don't have that. Why would I sacrifice that? I can't be at 8 o'clock in the morning to play tennis. I'm not retired. So another thing is when I come at night to play tennis, when the USTA, the Space Coast leagues are on, guess where am I going to play? Nowhere. Why do I do that? Why do I get penalized? Because USTA and Space Coast leagues are playing all the time at night. And I can't play, I can't find a court. We will play. So therefore, I want the community to understand, you guys to understand, when you make a decision of what to do, to keep that in mind. As a resident, I've been here for 20 years. I'm not brand new to Cocoa Beach. He knows me. So please keep that in mind when you make a decision. Like I said, I don't have a dog in the fight.
Thank you. We're not going to make a decision. We're going to give suggestion to those that are making the decision, but hopefully they'll listen to what we have to say and what you all have to say. And I'm sure you've sent your emails and letters to the city commission as well. And I think we've gotten a lot of good information out here.
Is pickleball in the equation at all?
So no one's saying anything. Just try to be quiet. Those that like pickleball, raise your hand. Okay.
A tennis meeting.
All right. So roughly half. I mean, some of you play pickleball, some of you play both. I told you I played tennis and I played racquetball. And now all the guys that I used to play racquetball with are playing pickleball.
Yeah.
So I've played pickleball. I played tennis. It's a great sport. It's just different. It's just different than tennis.
The word didn't really get out to the pickleball community about today. I just found out about it last night. And I played in Cape Canaveral all weekend, and my friend played Friday at Ramp Road, Cocoa Beach, and nobody knew about this.
Wow.
Nobody knew about this.
Because the tennis.
I'm surprised because it was a big thing. Come on up and speak real quick. Larry, what time do we have to shut down?
Soon.
What's soon? I
got about 10 more minutes.
I crazily got involved in this in a previous leisure board meeting when I was encouraged by other people hearing what could be happening here. But and the pickleball thing, it's real. It's blowing up everywhere. I don't like pickleball. I don't play it, but you guys gotta. So I've gotten a couple of communications. One is from Robin Keener, who's a local legend, Space Coast Hall of Fame coach. I'm writing because I support the USTA and John Sanders staying at Cocoa Beach Racquet Club. As a fellow certified pro, John has done an outstanding job in reviving the program there. He has also been instrumental in upgrading the facilities. It would be a travesty for the area to not continue the support of John and the USTA efforts. The other one I got is from Lori Schiavone at DeSoto. She's been tennis program coordinator there for 23 years. I support the USTA remaining at the Cocoa Beach tennis courts. They are great with kids and also in supporting the local programs. So that's all I have.
Right, thank you. Yeah, come on up. Let's do quick runs. Just state your name if you could.
I'm Dan Ryder. I live on 9th Street. I'm a parent of one of the juniors, and I'm also a member of the Kiwi Club. And I do not play pickleball, and I do not like pickleball. But I will say this, and I've been to the Cocoa Beach courts a lot. And when I go, it's not at night, it's empty. So as a tennis player and as a parent of a junior, I can say this is the first time I ever agree in my entire life with pickleballers. If Cocoa Beach gives 2 courts to pickleball, there's going to be plenty of tennis courts for this program. So if Cocoa Beach wants to do something Get them together. I support Lane. I support those coaches.
I might suggest that we've got a little bit more land out there that we can actually make a few more courts. And put some- Yeah, I think so.
Just put pickleball courts in here.
I'm not going to discuss that right now, but we will later.
What's our time frame of recommendation to the commission?
What's that now?
What's the time frame that we have to come up with
We can talk about it next meeting.
next week?
We have time. We're not gonna take it to commission until August.
Until August?
Yes, the first meeting in August. Yes.
Hold on. You said we can talk about it next week. We have another
Next
meeting.
Yes, yes,
Next
we
week?
do. Yes, we do.
Next week.
When is it?
July 24th.
July
perfect.
24th. Yeah, that's our regular meeting. That's our regular meeting.
That's good enough. Are we going to have more discussion with these folks?
We can.
Absolutely. So that's on the 24th?
July 24th.
July 24th, we're going to have another meeting, so that's 2 weeks from today. And please come back, and I'm not going any, so here's part of the thing we got, 24th.
No, let them know the time. It has to be
Oh, at 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock. So this particular board, it's a leisure board, but we still follow sunshine rules, sunshine laws, that we can't speak about these issues, even though we're going to give, our decision to this commission. But any one of us individually and any commissioner individually you can speak to and have discussions with outside of this meeting about this. So I'm not going anywhere. I'll just hang around and talk to anybody who wants to talk about it. I don't know, I'm not going to speak for those guys, but
Absolutely.
they may or may not. It is whatever it is. But in 2 weeks, we'll have another meeting and talk about it some more and kind of hash this out. I would just love to see everybody come together and just use those courts 100% of the time. You get your coaches, everybody gets money, everybody plays tennis. Yeah.
One thing that really stood out to me with USTA was that these people said, welcome, that this was their first time here in Cocoa Beach. And you're talking about people who live in Cocoa Beach, who live, breathe, play tennis, 12 hours a day, who want to go open mind for the locals.
Yeah.
None of my locals were locals.
Well, if we have a local, it's the coach who's working here. John, he just came from Wellington. He's part of USTA. He's supporting that function and trying to give a picture of how big USTA is and what they support. That's all. That's all. And then,
It's USDA against John, but I think that as a resident, I'd like to get a little more of choice. I need to have, I want to have choice. That's what it is.
yeah,
It's not that they're doing my job, they're doing it great.
okay. Do we have anything else?
Nope. Just announce again.